Hello, everyone. Welcome to 22nd Century Consciousness. I am your host, Christine McIver. I have Dr. Beth Golden, and we are ready to go. All right. We are talking about consciousness. We're talking about golden alignment. We're talking about the future, and we're talking about Dr. Beth Golden. So before Dr. Beth starts to share all of her brilliance with us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Beth Golden is a mentor, an author, a speaker, that has doctorates in metaphysics and divinity. Her genius lies in helping people gain clarity during times of rapid change and emotional upheaval. Dr. Golden will help you remember your gifts, love yourself, align with your golden purpose, and live in gratitude. The results are a life of joy based on knowledge, clarity, and confidence, which attracts more money, serves more people, use it while using your gifts to thrive. I love that. I love the way that you've captured all of the essence of what you love to be and do, Beth.
Well, thank you. That's taken time. Taken time and borrowed from other people too. So it all aligns. Oh, that one sounded good. Oh, that one sounded good. Yeah.
That's fabulous. So, Dr. Beth, my lead out question in all these interviews is this. When you first read my proposal about this showcase and the title of it, 22nd Century Consciousness, what was your first thought?
I was excited. My first thought is, what is she thinking? What does she want? So that was one thing. Christine is a fabulous support to each of us who are hosts on the show. And she is a forward-thinking Wonder Woman. And I was really excited about the thought. I mean, it was like a new ding in my head, 22nd century consciousness, and what does that mean? And what do I want to bring into that? That's what I was thinking. It's, really opened up a different thought process than I had before.
Oh, I love that. You know what? It's so funny because, I mean, we know that we're intuitive. We know that every person is intuitive, that we all receive awarenesses, maybe sometimes in different ways and so on. But honestly, when we started to talk about this, I was talking about, I would love to put on something where I'm showcasing everybody. And, in the team meeting, we're like, so what would it be called? And literally, I opened my mouth, as I often do, and brilliance poured out of it. Now, it wasn't a thought that dropped into my head. It literally came out. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And I didn't really know what it was either. So I was very intrigued to hear how it landed with each and every one of you.
And I think it's a fabulous thing to continue. I mean, whether we do it in this format or not, please trademark that name, because I think it's something that we can continue, and I appreciate being able to be one of your hosts that are showcased on this wonderful opportunity.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for adding that. I absolutely will trademark that. Thank you. So how about we tell everybody, now Dr. Beth has a show, of course, on our network. Dr. Beth is on every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 12 Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific, Golden Alignment with Dr. Beth Golden. And you have been on our show, our network, since February, and you have 19 episodes in replay so far. 19 hours of brilliance. You've brought on so many different guests. I just love all the different guests and how you invite them to share what they know and how they stay in alignment. And I know that I provoked you a few times to get out there. Come on.
More than once.
Come on. I know I do that a lot. I'm known as a provoker.
It's a gentle prodding.
Yeah, gentle prodding. Like, come on, sister, you can do this. And because I love hearing what you know. And so that's the question. What do you know about consciousness, and what are you doing in the world to spur more of that on?
Well, this has been something where I've been intentional, very intentional, as of the past couple months. And I've had a doctorate for 11 years and have been in practice. And I found it really challenging, actually, to practice what I preach. Oh, sit and meditate. But how do you do that? How do you, the do's, how do you do that? What's a simple step? And recently I've been reading a lot of Abraham Hicks and the state of being in a place of well-being, how to do that. And I realized for myself, I tend to think negatively. I can get into a negative spin. I'll have daydreams about conversations, and it wasn't healthy. And so I was making a very conscious effort to increase my vibration to love, joy, peace, and gratitude. And those begin at the vibration of 500 and higher on the Dr. David R. Hawkins scale of emotional frequency from power versus force. And I would listen to audios at night, and it made a world of difference. Because instead of always striving to do and to get recognition and get the pat on the back, I could just be. When I could switch my thought process from negative to what do I want? What do you want? Quit thinking about what you don't want. What do you want and why? Because as soon as you know the why, you're changing your thought process to a place of solution and creating higher energy. And I'm not one who is a natural meditator. Some people are really still, and can be calm and just love being in that space of stillness. Well, I'm more moving oriented. So my place of meditation is walking.
Oh my gosh, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, how do you do that? Oh, you're supposed to sit and invoke these emotions. Well, how do you do that? Again, how do you do that?
Right.
So I walk, and that helps balance my brain. And then I'm also doing something that Kyle Cease came up with about projecting from the future back. So let's say I would pretend that it's a year in the future, and you have a partner, and you say, oh my gosh, remember last year before I wrote my book, and I was just a little concerned about how that was going to go, and out of the blue, this person called, and I get to be on, 22nd Century Consciousness, and I get to be seen in the world, and I am a thought leader. I'm a new thought leader. And all of a sudden, because I relaxed, money began to flow, and that was an issue. I had some constriction there, and all of a sudden that came in, and my life was filled with more and more joy, and I could help people who are going through a lot of change create a really simple way to do this. Again, it's moving, it's audio, you're hearing yourself say things, and then you have somebody give you some feedback, like they're sitting right beside you or took this journey with you. And what it does, it creates that future, and the universe has to close the loop.
Nice.
So you're pulling yourself to that future that you're describing.
So do you have personal experiences where that has already occurred?
It's one of those things where you see smaller evidences, and then they build and build and build and build upon each other. A lot of it is synchronicities of people I've met and opportunities that are being presented. And a lot of it's kind of going back and what was my story, and why am I staying attached to a story that's no longer serving me? I think a lot of people do that, and it can be from childhood. Or you could have broken up and have had a relationship, and all of a sudden you go, why am I dwelling on that? That was 4 years ago. Because time goes so quickly. So what kind of story do I want to write? We can start anytime, any age, and create our own story. And then I do some energetic work. So our conscious mind and subconscious are united, because when the subconscious either wants to protect you or has a different belief system, it always wins. So we have to be able to align our conscious and subconscious mind. And then then the motor really gets going. Then the wind pulls back your hair.
I love that.
It's a Wayback Machine.
I absolutely love that. So, I don't know about you, but when I first kind of started down this path of more consciousness, awareness, spirituality, whatever, place you want to, however you want to name it, I would look at individuals like, this is interesting that this is coming through right now, so bear with me for a minute. I would look at individuals like Dr. Wayne Dyer and, Louise Hay and some of the more, what we would perceive as the leaders
Yes.
in this. And I would look at them and I literally had them on a pedestal, right? I had them on this pedestal and I would admire what they would say, and yet I always felt like they were above me
Or outside of you.
outside of me, and what they accomplished was far greater than I could ever imagine accomplishing. And yet I had this huge desire inside of me. I mean, this network was not created just because it was fun. It was propelled through this deep desire, right? And I remember, I have huge respect for this man, but I remember when I heard that Dr. Wayne Dyer and his wife divorced, I literally, Beth, in my body felt deep sadness, deep disappointment. Like, oh, but he's the leader and he talks about love and like, I'm not kidding. And I've never even shared this with anybody. I was in struggle. I was in struggle around this. And how could he, and what did he do? And, like, I'm telling you, my brain was like flipping out. And oftentimes, I did get over that, by the way. And oftentimes I find that we put people on a pedestal, or perhaps we are put on a pedestal. And then when we come forth with, this is who I am, these are some of the choices I've made, or these are some of the places I've tripped up, right? We send other people down a rabbit hole, or we mess them up. Let's just say we mess them up, right? And I think one of the things that I really love that's coming forth more today than perhaps, initially, is like, we get real. Like, let's get real, right? I can honestly say 99.9% of the radio shows I've ever listened to on the network is people are real. Like, listen, this is where I'm at. I messed up. This is what I did. And we're talking real. And yet we're also showing people how they can be leaders in their own life, right?
Exactly.
Have you experienced this personally, where you've tried to put on the golden face, but yet the real you started to come through?
Yes. I thought it was important at one point, or actually quite a bit into my practice, to be the professional, whatever that is. But until we can be vulnerable and share our weaknesses or perceived failures, we're not relatable. So who's going to come to us if we haven't fallen down and gotten back up? So my husband passed away or died due to a motorcycle accident 15 and a half years ago. I was instantly a single parent. I've had to navigate moving through my feelings of grief, which took 3 years to do. I got my degrees later in life, and that was a healing process for me. I dated, and that was interesting because I was in my 50s. And, I always said my mantra was, I want to date a single straight man who wants to be in a monogamous relationship resulting in marriage. Now I can repeat that, and that's like 14 years old. But I kept connecting with really fun, handsome, delightful people who didn't want commitment. And even then I knew that that was a reflection of my interior. And I had to look and say, hey, you're afraid to get involved again for fear of having that deep loss again. And then being yes, financial stuff, relationship stuff, children. That's why I feel blessed that I can help people, because I've gone through so many things. And I love helping people gain clarity, because when you're clear, so is everything else. And to know your true potential, because we're all different, like DNA code, we all have our own code. And I'm actually trained to see that in physical form in front of me. So I get to help people really love and honor who they are, so they value who they are. Because until you value who you are, that lack of worthiness or lack of value shows up in every aspect of life. So money, relationships, kids, work. Of course, it's all relational because we don't live in a vacuum. But once you can know what your core desired feelings are, your core desired values, and you can set really healthy boundaries without fear of people pleasing, because people just want to know the truth, they want to know it now. Can you come to the party? No, I'm not able to do that today. Okay. You know, it makes life a lot simpler, and it also helps you move in your path of greatness or in your genius, and just that is so life-giving and exciting. So that's what I'm excited about.
So hold on, sorry. When we look at the future of consciousness, and we look at what consciousness is actually asking of us, what do you see as something that is essential for each and every one of us?
Again, knowing who you are is very, very important, and essential that we write our own story. Everything that happens in life, whether we like it or not, we are directly responsible for, with the exception of one thing. If there's childhood sex abuse, I always have space for that being different. But we attract every single thing that occurs in our life, our decision making, and the consequences of those decisions. And oftentimes we don't want to live there. It's easier to blame than to take responsibility. And it would be my hope that people younger and younger and younger realize this, so that they can flip it really easily and be given those tools at a lot younger age than I received them. And we live in the third dimension. We do things in threes. If it's the law of 3 and 7, when we know simple laws about physics, we get to positively manipulate our environment. So how exciting is that we get to change it?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing that you would like for people to know about what you're creating in the world?
Well, I am an expert in technology, an advanced human assessment technology called the Ultimate Life Tool. It's a really simple, 10-minute online assessment, which encompasses all the other assessments within it. I love discs. I love colors. I like taking those things. As I've become more adept, I can manipulate them, which isn't necessarily good, but it shows you what motivates you. So I love attention. I like recognition. So I don't want that to be a negative thing or something that holds me back. Some people love to initiate change. Some people are all about protection and protecting people and creating laws. Some people are about creating order and perseverance and knowing that they're right. And when you can move in the strength of your being and be a little bit more narrow with that, that gives you energy, because you're not diverting your energy into other things. When you know how that you download information, connect with the world around you, commit things to memory, it's a lot easier. Life becomes simpler. So this assessment creates the wholeness of who you are, so you can reach your full potential in a really simple, beautiful way. So that's the foundation of my practice. And then we look at what do you want, creating healthy boundaries, and then allowing and receiving, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the universe to reorder itself on your behalf.
Right. So how is that clarity going to move us forward? How is that going to contribute to the future of consciousness?
Well, I always think of a fuzzy picture, some kids that, need glasses and they don't really know it. And then you put glasses on, it's like, oh, Mom, I can see leaves. I can see the words. When you're fuzzy, you don't know where you're going. It's like a boat being tossed by the sea. But when you have clarity and the vision of where you want to go and you have your eye on that, you may have to make course corrections along the way, but you get there a lot more directly. People know what you're talking about. People know what you stand for. There's not a lot of ambiguity. And there's a lot more joy because you're actually owning the magnificence of who you are. There's only one you. There's never going to be another one of you. So people get kind of in a funk and they don't realize what a miracle they are and that they're here to give their gifts. And so whatever those gifts are, we always think, yeah, rock star, I'm going to be famous and everybody's going to know. That's not always what our gifts are. You know? Right. So being able to love and honor who you are and have clarity about that affects every area in life. And so I like to support people in being clear.
Right. So how is me being clear going to contribute to you?
Well, especially as the owner of the station, you provide hosts with a lot of clarity. You're giving us boundaries about what is expected and how we need to conduct shows and what are the time frames and how do you move in and out of your show. If we didn't do that, there wouldn't be, or if you didn't do that, there wouldn't be a lot of consistency across Inspired Network Choices. Inspired Choices Network. That just rolled off my tongue.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So when you provide clarity for your hosts, they get to function in their gifting and bring their gifts and their innate being to your network. But it has some nice boundaries that each person falls into.
So the boundaries are not so much of keeping you apart and stopping. It's kind of like, I like your boat analogy. I don't know boat terms at all, but it's like, you know, what a boat goes through and it guides that boat out into the sea from its port.
Right. Or let's look at an airplane. If the pilot always has to course correct. So if you're off by 1 degree and you don't course correct, over the course of time, it becomes far greater than 1 degree.
Right.
So we can keep our focus on what we want and, you know, little nudge here, little nudge there. You know, we see what the universe is bringing in. It might change our focus a little bit, but we can get from point A to point B more quickly and with more clarity and decisiveness and positive consequences. So boundaries aren't to put us in a box. Boundaries are so that we communicate clearly with other people.
Brilliant. I love that. And perhaps we need to come up with a new word because boundaries does have a lot of times a negative connotation to it. So let's you and me brainstorm and we'll come up with something brilliant.
Yes, because your yes is a yes and your no is a no, and people know what to expect. And confidence is the #1 trait of a successful leader. So when you have clarity, you're gaining confidence too.
I like that.
That's really important. You're drawing people to you. You feel good. You stand tall. You feel really centered. So those things are really easy. And women are people pleasers, and women who are really hungry or dying to be in a relationship, they make all these concessions just so they have male attention. I'm speaking from a female's point of view. And then we end up kicking ourselves around the block because we made a choice that didn't serve us.
Right.
We can save a lot of time by saying, okay, they have everything but one thing, but that one thing is going to mess everything up. So I'm willing to wait. Or the same thing with a job interview. I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me. How does this place feel when I go in? You know, am I going to be supported in this environment? So it's a lot about, I'm very linear in my thought process, but we have to move from our heart and kind of have our feelers out too.
Right.
So those are in alignment.
Totally agree with you. That's so awesome. Beth, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Oh my gosh, the conversation's gone so quickly. I can't believe we're nearly at the end.
I can't either.
My last question for you, what's the one thing that you desire for the future of consciousness?
I always think this sounds a little Pollyanna-ish, but I want people to love themselves. We come from love, we go back to love, and we have this experience in between, and we are spirit having a physical experience.
Mm-hmm.
We can have this physical experience with a whole lot more joy and ease and peace when we can love ourselves and kind of let go of high expectation so that life just flows. That may come with maturity, but my desire is that people would have that clarity and confidence a lot younger than I received.
I echo that. I do see that happening more in my children. I see that their confidence is coming in sooner than mine did, and it's so it gives me ease knowing that they're moving through their life, and they're creating more joy for themselves faster.
Yes. And successes and fun and excitement. So, yeah. And I think as we are conscious parents, our kids learn this through osmosis. So I would just encourage everyone to think about that higher path, love, joy, peace, and gratitude. If you're in grief right now, that's a really big leap. So just think about courage. If you're in grief, think courage, because courage creates action steps. And connect with somebody who knows that,
Right.
who can help you raise your vibration. Grief is a big one. It lasts a long time, or can.
Right.
So
It doesn't have to, but can.
it can.
Yeah.
So when you need help, ask for it. That's a big thing. I suffered in silence forever, and it didn't serve me or anyone else. So
No, it certainly doesn't serve anyone. I'm glad that you did reach out and did move beyond that. So
yeah.
Beth has a beautiful package that she's offering all of our listeners and our viewers. It's absolutely tremendous. It'll be posted in the replay, but I will go over it briefly. So first of all, you have the cutting edge ultimate life tool technology with a 7 to 9 page report. Like, oh, holy moly, Beth, that is a value of $100. Then secondly, you have a customized portable to share your results, and that's a value of $60. A 1-hour consultation with Dr. Beth to review all of the results, that's a $200 value. So the total value of your package is $360, and you are offering it just for the showcase people for $197. That's absolutely fabulous. It's over 50% off. That's fantastic. Give us a little brief overview of what this package is going to look like and what they're going to get from it.
Well, when you take the Ultimate Life Tool assessment, you learn about your traits and potential for behavior. Do you need respect, loyalty, knowledge, romance, sympathy, perceptivity? And it's really fine-tuned. You get a 7 to 10 page report, which is beautifully written but is canned. I get to go over every single aspect of this assessment. There are 5 dimensions to it with this portal. So you have visuals, you'll see what your grid looks like, you'll be able to ask questions, and I can see areas where you might have some energy leaks and how you can readjust your thought process to stay in the strength of who you are. I always says it shows everything that's right with you, but we still have this dual world. So how's it going to look when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? So you have a cool, really cool visual about that. And that's the hour consultation. And actually, it's not on here. And an additional bonus, oftentimes I will offer an additional half hour because it's a lot of information to absorb. Mm-hmm. So about a week later, I like to get together for half an hour and see if people have questions.
That's awesome. That's fabulous. Thank you so much for everything you're contributing in the world, for your presence on the network, for all of the amazing people you bring to the network to share their voice with the world as well. You know that turns me on and lights me up, because more people bringing their voice to the world is the greatest blessing in my eyes. So I so appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that joined us today, everybody that's watching the replays. Be sure and reach out. Beth, what is your website if someone wants to reach out to you? Where can they find you?
www.goldenalignment.com, which is also on the website.
Yeah.
So, like alignment, ALIGNMENT. So goldenalignment.com.
And your email address is at beth@goldenalignment.com?
It is.
Fabulous. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate it. And let's move forward and continue to create the 22nd century consciousness.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jane, for
so
having
welcome.
me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye.